Thanks for checking out my channel. My name is Simon Hill. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this video, leave a comment. I want to say thank you to all the people that have been tuning in, watching my video, supporting me. Respect. So today we're going to be reading this article posted on CNN, The Travelers Facing Down Racism to See the World, written by Rubens Fils, updated on February 28th, 2022. Leaving some comments too. So, for many Black travelers, preparing to visit a destination isn't just a matter of booking tickets, buying foreign currency, or packing a swimsuit. Often it involves mentally preparing to be confronted by something barely mentioned in guidebooks, the ism. The ism. Whenever heading to a new destination, certain questions always enter my mind as a Black traveler. How are the locals going to treat me? Will they be welcoming or hostile towards me? What is it like there for Black people? The more remote the place, the more questions I ask myself. I can definitely say this is true as somebody who's traveling, somebody who loves to travel. Every time I go to a country, and I prefer to go to the ones on the, not so worn path, those small remote countries. I like to visit those rather than the big destination places like Italy, Germany, whatever. I always question myself as to how are they in relation to Black people. Before I even look up, best places to eat or the best nightlife when I'm YouTubing or Googling a city that I'm heading towards, I always question, Black people in X place. How is it there for Black people in X location? And yet, even in the face of this insidious and potentially dangerous hurdle, many Black people remain undaunted, believing the joys and rewards of travel to be worth the anguish caused by the intolerance of others. Isn't that such a crazy thing to consider that, when we travel, we have to worry about our safety on another level other than, people, kidnapping us or, robbing us because we're American, because before they find out we're American, we're Black people to them, and we might be treated a certain way. But that's the beauty of our people as well, because we're resilient and we're strong, and in the face of adversity, we're always going to fight back, and that's beautiful. I have traveled to many countries despite the fear of racism, says Kemkem Casinelli, a former pharmacist who now runs the travel blog Next Bite of Life. I take it as an opportunity to change the people's perceptions. Kemkem has the right mentality in this case. She is saying that no matter the racism, she's going to visit and she's going to fight against whatever is there. And she's going to use that opportunity to make people's mind change as to what Black people are. But even Casinelli, who was born in Nigeria but moved to the U.S. as a teenager, has her limits. And everybody has their limits. I respect that. Even prior to the invasion of Ukraine, she says Russia was a no-go for her, having heard first-hand accounts from family members of racism there. I have no desire to visit. And in my opinion, in this case, I think Casinelli is wrong. I think regardless of how people treat us in a place, we should still go to that place, because this planet is as much our planet as anybody else, and we deserve to traverse it from end to end. And listen, the person who is racist to you in a country wants that to happen. They want to be racist to you, mean to you, disgusting and nasty to you, so that you can go and tell your friends and your family, hey, they don't like Black people in X country, so that we don't go. And that's what the white supremacists want. But we don't give them what they want. We do what we want. And I can tell you that about a time when I was in Tunisia, I was on the metro and I got pickpocketed for my passport. Maybe they were reaching for something else, money or my phone, whatever, but they pickpocketed me for my passport. And I was on the train alone, and I started making a big fuss about it. I started yelling, who's got my passport? Who's got my passport? And I made such a big show about it that they dropped my passport on the ground, whoever stole it. I found it, I picked it up. I definitely know I did not drop it. So if you're in the comments saying, oh, you must have accidentally dropped it. No, I know I was pickpocketed, because when I picked it up, the person who stole it looked at me before I got off the train and said, "Don't come back to Tunisia. Go back home." And I don't give them what they want. I would go back to Tunisia. I have no problem. In fact, after that, I stayed in Tunisia for like another year or so. So, fuck those people. We do what we want. The fear of racism while traveling can be hard to grasp for non black travelers, especially as many countries outlaw all forms of discrimination. And that's interesting, and this is something that's a side note. I suggest everybody go to this Wikipedia page, the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. I won't go over everything, but basically, as we can see from this map here, most of the countries in the world have agreed that racism, racial discrimination is bad. But I digress. This is a topic for another day. However, as shown by appalling incidents like the police killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the hate crime murder of Ahmaud Arbery making headlines in the U.S., not to mention more casually racist incidents like the arrest of two innocent black men in a Philadelphia Starbucks, even where it's illegal, it can be a serious problem. So it's hardly surprising that some black travelers want to know what they can expect in another country, especially an all-white country, or especially a country where there are not many black people, and what will happen to them when they are there. These are the same questions that faced black people during the pre-1965 Jim Crow era of legalized racial segregation in the United States. Back then, they relied on word of mouth and guides such as the Green Book to find safe places while on the road. And I want to make a point here. I will always, always, always tell the truth to whoever who wants to listen to my experience and my perception and the news about black travelers, because we need to know. And I want this channel to be like the Green Book. I want this channel to be the guide for anybody who wants to travel. I want this channel to be an inspiration for anybody who wants to travel, who looks like me, who doesn't look like me, who is, a woman, who's gay, who's an ethnic minority, who's white. I don't care. I want this to be an inspiration, because if I can travel, and I never thought I would, I want you to be able to do the same thing and have the joy of seeing this world, because we live on a beautiful planet and we all have the right to explore. Fear and apprehension. There are a few places abroad that I have avoided due to racism, says Nicole Brewer. She's a soldier. Although such guidebooks are, officially at least, no longer as urgently needed, decades later the feeling of fear and apprehension persists. I disagree. Guidebooks are still needed, and this channel is a guidebook. Nadine White, a U.S. physician who has authored several travel books and writes a travel blog, The Sophisticated Life, oh, she fancy, says accounts from other black travelers have made her think twice about certain destinations. China gives me pause because of the experiences I have heard there, she says. Black people being stared at and pointed at, being asked to take their pictures, touching their hair. All right, I want to take a pause here to digress. There's a debate amongst black travelers about whether it's okay for people who are curious and are coming at us from a curious perspective to ask to touch our hair or take pictures or selfies with us. In my opinion, this is my opinion, I don't think this is right, because when they're taking these pictures with us, I don't think, unless there's a sincere conversation that follows the picture or is prior to the picture, I don't think there's a sincere desire to want to understand us as people. And I also think that a lot of these people want to take these photos as props, as a way to validate their experience of traveling or being cultured. We're not here as props. We're not here to be your black friend in your photo. We're not here for you to show off to your friends as you show these images on your social media or personally. We're not here for that. We're people just like you. And just because my skin is a different color doesn't make me exotic. And just because of what you've seen on TV doesn't mean that we are that in real life. So I don't think these pictures are acceptable. Now, I'll admit it, I have been asked to take pictures with people, and I did it, but mostly because I was just shocked and I was in a corner and it was an awkward situation and I didn't know what to do, but I don't like it and I don't think it's okay. I think this is a person by person uh, situation, and the individual should make the choice. But in general, I don't think this is okay. But the choice is yours. It is hard to imagine in 2022 that no one has ever seen a black person in real life before, but I do want to see the Great Wall. And that's one of the ironies of traveling while black. A lot of the times we want to go see the pyramids of Giza, Mount Fuji in Japan. We want to see the Great Wall of China, but a lot of the times we go there and we're more of a spectacle than these monuments of human civilization. It's sick. Some people hesitate to travel in their own country. There are few places abroad that I have avoided due to racism, since I'm more concerned or worried about racism in my home country, the USA, says Nicole T. Brewer, an English teacher and travel blogger at I Love to Globetrot. That makes sense. But I've said this in the past, the US is a much more dangerous beast than any country that you'll travel to generally. Because in the US, we have racists just like there are racists in any other country, but our racists have guns and they want to live out their Brenton Tarrant fantasies. Brewer from Detroit says she's fearful of traveling through so called sundown towns, a name given to all white communities that have historically excluded black people and minorities in the U.S., Midwest, and South. Nadine White expresses similar concerns. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and the southern states scare me. Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, and even parts of North Carolina and Florida, she says. During the past two elections, my husband and I were cautious about traveling to these areas and canceled a road trip to Tennessee. I can't blame him. Our country is beautiful though, and the same logic that I have for traveling abroad also applies to the US. I think black travelers should visit Montana, Alaska, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota. We should be able to go anywhere, everywhere. You know, I wouldn't be scared to go to Tennessee. I just wouldn't have a desire. Last month, I canceled a press trip to North Carolina. It was in an area I was not familiar with, and based on the activities and pictures of the place and previous events, I was worried that we may not be welcome. Compounding this trepidation is the apparent lack of representation of black people in the travel media and advertisements of many countries. Yeah. So a lot of the times the travel media has these images of people that don't look like us in their advertisements, right? And unfortunately, a lot of the big travel vloggers who are on YouTube are all lily white. And, you know, this makes us feel like we are excluded from the conversation of what it's like to travel. By the way, check out my other travel vlog that I made with my girlfriend. It's called Booty Drums. That's the name. Anyway, yeah, we spend money just like anybody else. Our money is green just like everybody's. But it feels like travel media and advertisements are not targeting us. And we're a big demographic, you know? Black audiences reading accounts written by white travelers about safe destinations may still be left thinking, great, but is it safe for me? The same way a male traveler might write that he had a great time in Egypt, but I mean, is a woman of any race going to have the same experience traveling alone in Egypt? I think not. And that's the, you know, perspective we're coming from as black travelers. Of course, black people do travel, and in large numbers. Black leisure travelers in the United States spent $109.4 billion on travel in 2019, according to a report from MMGY Global, a U.S. marketing agency. We spend billions of dollars on traveling. They didn't say if this was domestic or international, but I mean, the point I'm trying to make is this. I don't know if there are any white people that watch my channel, or if there are any white foreigners or people from different countries who watch my channel. Well, please understand, we want to visit your countries too, all of them. But if you have people in your country who are sick, racist, xenophobic, bigoted, and they treat us bad, you're losing out on your money. Kemkem said she wanted to go to Russia. She didn't now because apparently you guys have people there who are, you know, openly treating black people bad. You are missing out on dollars. You are missing out on a big section of the tourism industry because we're not going anywhere. We're not going to disappear. We're not going to leave this planet. So Treat us right, and we'll treat you right. We'll spend our money. We'll come. We'll say beautiful things about your country. We're not going to go there and hurt you. We're not going to go there and rob and steal from you and rape your women. We're there to do good things just like anybody else. Have a good time. Treat us right. Subtle obstacles. In my experience, many non-black people are surprised, even shocked, when they find out that black people do research related to racism before travel. This is just the white blinders. You know, people want to act like our experiences are the same. They are not. I do think of potential racism before traveling. However, it hasn't stopped me. Good job, Casinelli. I refuse to let other people's problems dictate my travels. Teo Jayasimi, pardon if I butchered your name, a British travel blogger who publishes the 5 to 9 travel blog, also says that she factors in potential discrimination while abroad. I want to stop here and salute all the women who are traveling abroad, documenting their experiences. Salute to all of you. And everybody watching my video, please go support these blogs, subscribe to their channels, leave a comment, anything. I just know I'll be stared at and stand out, and I could encounter it, she says. But I just accept that it's possible in any country, be it Russia with perceived racism or Portugal, where I actually had racist behavior directed at me. And yes, as black travelers, we are conscious of knowing that your country is mostly homogenous, that it is mostly made up of people, maybe of different ethnic groups, but who all generally look the same. And black people have a phenotypic difference that makes us visibly stand out. We understand that. We're not ignorant. So people in the comments, please don't say stuff, well, what can you expect? You're the only black guy in X country, right? But please, that's still no excuse to stare at people, point at people, make it that we are uncomfortable, because we have voices too, and we will tell our people not to go to Portugal, because we're not going to lie and say that we had a great time and we didn't experience racism. When black people are around other black people and we get to really talking, we're going to tell the truth, and that can influence how we perceive you. Friends and family can also create subtle obstacles to the travel dreams of black people. Are you sure you want to go there? Is it safe for us? Are common questions. I currently live abroad in Oman, and many people were concerned about me moving to the Middle East, says Brewer. Now, I want to stop here. I think that a lot of Americans, and black Americans included, have some negative and often, I would say, xenophobic views about the Middle East. Anti-Arabism is big in America. Islamophobia is big in America, and that includes black Americans as well. So as a woman traveler, they probably thought she was going to this Arab Muslim country and they were going to put her in a niqab or a burqa or something like that. And that's wrong. And that shouldn't be accepted as well, whether it comes from our community too. I'm not afraid to be critical of black people as well. But I think that generally comes from, you know, their view, how Americans might view Arabs' treatment of women rather than black people, because a lot of us are ignorant to, you know, Arab and black relations. And that's deep. That's for another topic. Some relatives don't like me visiting places where there is not a prominent black population, but do you know how incredibly restrictive that would be to my travels if I had that mindset? For those black travelers prepared to make the journey to faraway lands, the experience can be fantastic and enriching. Breathtaking landscapes, delicious food, and friendly locals. It's beautiful to travel, and every black person that wants to travel, please do. Several years ago, I traveled to Central Asia. I want to go there, taking in countries including Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. Finding basic travel information about visa policies, things to do, how to get there, and so on wasn't difficult, but there was nothing on the internet about black travelers' experiences in the region. Although this made me nervous, I was determined to go there, and fortunately, everything went fine, and I discovered people there were happy to see black faces. Hey, if they're happy to see us, that's fine. Just don't make a big show about it, you know? Don't point at us, don't stare at us, don't laugh at us, don't say slurs, don't say the N-word. It's that simple. You can be happy that when you see us, you know that we're tourists, fine, but just don't treat us any different than you would anybody else. Let us be, please. broadening minds. Yet even the return home with fond vacation memories can be clouded by the pragmatism of Black friends asking, "How was it?" A question that often implies, "How racist was it?" I've gotten questions about traveling throughout Europe, Asia, etc., about if I've dealt with racism, says Brewer. I primarily tell them that I've dealt more with curiosity about being a Black woman abroad than racism. All seasoned Globetrotters, whatever their skin color, develop a sense for staying safe on the road. And over time, with experience, Black travelers realize that most of the time, everything goes fine. I want to talk briefly about this. I acknowledge my privilege as a man traveling, that I will not have the same experience as a woman traveling. Regardless of me being Black, there are some things that I can do as a man in some countries, especially where the patriarchy is very strong, that a woman just can't get away with. And one of those things is, traveling unaccompanied without having to worry about being sexually assaulted, attacked, kidnapped, taken advantage of, bullied because I'm a woman. That's unfortunate, and that should not happen as well. Locals may stare at you or ask to get a picture with you because they're not used to seeing a Black person in the flesh, but that's it. You already know how I feel about taking pictures with us. It's your choice. I just wouldn't do it. You don't know what they're doing with those pictures. Moreover, let's face it, it's impossible for a whole country to be racist, no matter how small the country is. Facts. One African American couple I met in Rome recounted to me the story of how they'd been nervous about making the trip until certain ironies were pointed out. "How can you be scared to go to Italy when you live in the US?" they were asked by a Black Canadian. That's facts. We can't be scared to go to Azerbaijan when we're right next to or in Alabama. They've conceded the point, booked their tickets for Italy, and had one of the best vacations of their lives. Good job. As Teo points out, while travel broadens the mind of the visitor, it can also broaden the minds of those visited. People will never know about Black people and how we really are, not how the media portrays us if they don't meet us, she says. We are not a monolith. Us traveling shows many of our individual selves to populations where we are a minority. Now, Rubens Fils is a Black travel blogger from Paris who shares his travel experiences on his website, Been Around the Globe. He's the author of Traveling While Black. I urge you to go support him. I want to comment about this finally. I'm not about respectability politics. I don't think that we should go to places and expect to be perfect. And I don't think that white people or people of a country, any country we go to, because of course there are Asian countries, there are African countries, all types of countries, Latin American countries, they shouldn't expect us to be perfect either. But when we go, we should always remember that we are representing our people to some extent, especially in homogenous countries, and we should be on our best behavior, right? At the same time, if one of us goes somewhere and we do something bad or accused of doing something bad or have a cultural misunderstanding that leads to some argument or disagreement, the people of that country shouldn't fault that person for not knowing the norms or breaking the law intentionally or unintentionally as a fault on the entire race of Black people as well. I want to also end by saying that I encourage all Black creators on YouTube who are doing travel vlogs, any vlogs talking about traveling for us, and that's where I'll end. Hit the like button, subscribe, share. Thank you for watching once again. I'll always tell you the truth, and peace.